Terms and conditions apply. Blah 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 blah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Business Blaze. This episode is brought to you by Lucy. Go to lucy.co and use the promo code BLAZE for 20% off your order today. More on them in a bit. They're a nicotine gum, by the way. I see people hitting me up on Twitter being like, Simon, look at all this Lucy stuff I bought. No more cigarettes. And I'm like, legend. I'm actually super pleased that is happening because smoking is horrible for you. More about them in a bit. Social media missteps that destroyed people's lives. I just feel like, I don't know, I'm a bit of a live wire sometimes. Like, I say that is just a bit, I don't know, often I'm being sarcastic or like I'm making a joke. But then if it's not obvious I'm making a joke, it's like, oh boy. Oh boy. Like the Simon Whistler out of context memes that are on my subreddit and on Twitter where it's like, wow, out of context, that is insane. Like, dude. And I'm like, this is how my life will be destroyed. I wouldn't say that I'm a big user of social media these days. That's partly because I don't like my phone pinging every 2 seconds to inform me that somebody I don't know has replied to a comment that I can't even remember making. But it's also because, with a few merciful exceptions, most of the fun has been drained out of my feed in recent years, as everyone I know seems to have become passionate about politics. Oh my god, it's so true, and just please stop. I just don't use Facebook. I just got rid of, like, I had a personal Facebook account, I was like, this. It's just, I just don't have any interest in this.
I'm too old for this shit.
I have professional Facebook because I wanted to register the page Simon Whistler, so that at least I had it. I don't know why. And I was like, at some point I should probably do some videos on Facebook, but Facebook. Facebook's such a piece of shit. Twitter's quite toxic, but kind of fun. I mean, I bit right in there because I'm a dickhead.
You are correct, sir.
Years ago, I can remember Facebook being largely a platform about mucking about and cracking jokes and maybe sharing the odd fond memory or a piece of personal news. Social media felt very social, a bit like an online equivalent of going down the pub and having a laugh and a catch-up, but without having to put your pants on. The thing about the pubs that I used to frequent in the grim north of the UK, I've got another channel called Casual Criminalist, and the writer on that channel, Callum, made a jab at the north. People were like, hey, don't you talk about the north like that. I was like, okay, chill, Daddy, chill.
Daddy, chill.
But Danny's from the north, so he can make those jokes.
The North remembers. We know no king, but the king in the North whose name is
Danny.
I don't care if he's a bastard.
What?
My grandma's from the north. She's from Yorkshire. Yorkshire's in the north, right? She didn't speak like she was from the north because she'd lived in the south for a very long time. But she drank Yorkshire tea and was very, let's say, frugal. A lot of people were very happy to follow the golden unwritten rule, never talk about politics and religion. And I can see why this system naturally works without anyone having to try too hard. If I'm catching up with an old mate, I expect to hear about what he's been up to and have a chuckle over nostalgic stories and anecdotes, and maybe by the end of the night, we'll be singing songs about magic pixies. Yeah, I really do subscribe to that, like, don't talk about politics and religion. Like, I have political opinions, I have religious opinions. Neither of them are particularly extreme. I'm not religious, I'm not really political. But one thing that makes people not like you is when you are either very anti-religion or one side of the political spectrum, or you're very pro-religion, or you're very the other side of the political spectrum. It's like, and also, I mean, try and have a little bit of grey.
No, I don't think I will.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe in, like, religion. But I don't disbelieve in the idea of a god. Like, I do believe there could be more out there that we don't understand. And also with politics, and I'm like, okay, yeah, the I like on the right, the I like on the left, I probably fall somewhere in the center. But only because, like, okay, for that issue, I'm over there. For that issue, I'm over there. It's just, I don't know. Stop. And now we're talking about politics. Let's just fucking stop talking about this.
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit.
I certainly wouldn't expect my mate to launch into a 45-minute blistering attack on the UK government's broken manifesto pledges before I've even had a chance to get comfy in my seat. And yet these days, much of my Facebook feed is taken up by old friends I haven't seen in 20 years who are angrily ranting that anyone with a different political perspective is an ill-educated buffoon, when all I really want to see is just how much weight they've piled on since school. Danny, you savage! It just feels that all the fun social side of my social media experience. Danny's fun social side is look at how fat people got. has disappeared somewhere behind an all-engulfing preacher's pulpit. Of course, everyone's entitled to use social media in whatever way they see fit, except for Donald Trump. And you can always reach for the mute button if you start feeling annoyed. And social media can be a powerful platform for quickly raising awareness of important issues and giving everyone a voice. But it can also be a very dangerous arena if you use your voice to speak first and think later. One careless drunken tweet at midnight could potentially have torn your whole life to shreds by the following morning. Yes, look, pro tip, other people who are like me. Or just anybody, really. If you've got something to lose on the internet. I mean, honestly, if you're just employed and you say something. But if I tweet something, more people are going to see it than if Jeff, who works at Tesco's, tweets something. Unless Jeff is a secret, like, Twitter celebrity or whatever. But it's like, just after you've had a few beers, just leave it alone. Just don't go in there. Don't even go in there to like. And while there are some cases in which you can't help but feel sympathy for a social media user who faced heavy repercussions from a digital lynch mob after making a terrible error of judgment, there are other cases where you just have to wonder what on earth was going through their heads. Yes, you do. There are some glorious ones. There's the woman who was tweeting, I don't know if Daniel touching it, but she's like just getting on a plane. She's like works in PR for like a giant company. She gets on a plane. She just tweets, go to Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS.
Dirty mother.
And it's like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? Meat spike. Here's a legal dilemma to chew over. Is it illegal for a restaurant to knowingly serve meat to a vegetarian or a vegan? I mean, it's not going to be good for their reputation, but I can't imagine they're breaking a law. You could argue it's assault, but very tenuously. Very, like, no. Not, in fact, no. No, it's not. I mean, it's obviously illegal to spike someone's drink with a Class A drug. Yes, because the Class A drug is illegal. But that's largely because the drug was illegal to begin with, thank you. You'd still be breaking the law if you put it in your own drink. But what if a chef spikes a supposedly vegan dish with meat?
Give your meat a good old rub. Hot and spicy meat. Yeah, boy.
But that's exactly what a chef in the UK claimed to have done in a Facebook post from early January 2018. Laura Goodman was a chef and co-owner of the Italian restaurant Carlini in the quaint village of Shifnal in Shropshire. Laura just finished working a long New Year shift at the restaurant, catering for a party of vegan customers, one of whom appeared to be making life difficult for the chef. In a private Facebook group of 18,000 members. Doesn't sound very private, does it? Laura posted a message at 4:30 a.m, which is seriously never a good time to post anything. You're obviously blind drunk, just go to bed and see if you still feel like posting it tomorrow morning. In this case, though, Laura pressed ahead and posted, "The pious judgmental vegan who I spent all day cooking for has gone to bed, still believing she's a vegan." In a separate post elsewhere in the group, she commented, "Spiked a vegan a few hours ago." When one of those 18,000 group members, I suspect it was a vegan, took a screenshot of the comments and posted them outside the group, that Kalani restaurant was propelled to new heights of fame, but not in a good way. Someone's getting fired! They even made it into the mainstream headlines, as a fellow co-owner of the restaurant later observed. Shifnal has never been on the news agenda, but overnight we ended up between Trump and Brexit on the BBC. The focus of the news coverage was on the relentless abuse and death threats which the restaurant had received in the wake of Laura's apparent confession. Stop it! It's like, yes, this was wrong. What she did was wrong. We don't need to start threatening people with death. If you're a vegan and you believe that, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Eggs were regularly smashed against the windows. By vegans? The restaurant became the target for endless prank bookings, and the owners eventually had to stop answering the telephone because nearly all the incoming calls were abusive.
My name's Dick Rogers. Do you hear?
Yeah, Dick?
Close your pie hole and open your ears, bub, if I ever got a bone to pick with you.
34 members of staff were advised to remove their job titles from their social media pages to avoid being traced and targeted by angry campaign. Am I going to be traced and targeted for saying that this is a massive overreaction? While Laura herself eventually stepped down from the restaurant as she realized that those two short sentences had cost the chef her business and her career. However, both Laura and co-owner Michael Gale later claimed that the whole thing had been a bit of a misunderstanding. Michael claims that Laura spent all day preparing special vegan options as requested by the diners, which one of the customers ignored in favour of non-vegan margarita pizza. One of the waitresses pointed this out to Laura, who found it disappointing, if slightly amusing, that a vegan customer, who allegedly had been making a fuss about her dietary requirements all night, didn't seem to realise that margarita pizza was not suitable for vegans. I would say that this sounds like an excuse, but it is also not unreasonable. This might have actually sounded like quite a reasonable explanation if we were dealing with Laura's original comments about the customer going to bed believing she was still a vegan, but doesn't really explain the use of spike to vegan a few hours ago in the second comment. Michael had an answer for this though. Laura probably had too much to drink, he helpfully explains. Well, yes, but it doesn't make it untrue, does it? But would it have been illegal if Laura had purposefully spiked the dish? You don't hear many cases of people going to prison for slipping bacon into a salad, and some might argue that your dietary restrictions are your own responsibility. If you're that bothered about avoiding meat, you should possibly avoid putting your faith and trust in restaurants that prepare meat dishes in the same kitchen. But in the UK at least, veganism qualifies as a protected belief, and the issue becomes more complex if the diet is also connected to a religious belief. But it's not a crime, is it? In most cases, serving meat in a vegetarian dish is likely to be an accidental oversight rather than an act of malicious intent, which would be very difficult to prove in court. Well, unless you plaster it all over social media like an idiot. So under normal circumstances, the chances of hearing about prosecution over spiking a dish with meat are probably pretty slim. In this case, one customer was considering suing Laura for assault, but all went very quiet on that front. It's not assault. Stop it. You ate a little bit of mozzarella cheese. Relax. The cow's probably fine. And even if it's not, relax.
Ron, would you like some salad?
Since I am not a rabbit, no, I do not. Delicious.
It's up for debate whether Laura... That cow's been enslaved!
Daddy, chill.
It's up for debate whether Laura was really guilty of spiking the dish or just guilty of sharing a stupid comment on Facebook. But either way, it was the whole restaurant which suffered the consequences for a long time to follow. Some of the actions proposed by concerned campaigners felt a bit half-hearted, though. The local press noted that the Telford Vegan Action Group were planning to stage a mass protest outside Carlini one Saturday evening. Please say it's like 2 people showed up. They were both drunk. This would have been a further blow for the restaurant, still trying to deal with egged windows and bogus bookings. When the day arrived, only 2 protesters called it bothered to show up. Still, if they got hungry or bored, at least they could have popped inside for some margarita pizza. You know what it definitely is, though? That is a nicotine gum. And you might be thinking, Simon, what is this? 1997? Nicotine gum? Please, I've got other options. I'm vaping right now. There's patches and all sorts of other stuff, but look. Yeah, okay, maybe nicotine gum in like the 1990s wasn't so hot, but today, Lucy have been working for years to fix it and make it better and make it glorious, a cleaner alternative to tobacco. Lucy was founded by 2 Caltech scientists that felt traditional products weren't speaking to their generation and aren't as satisfying as they could be. That's what I said, right? 2 years of reformulation, and they've created a longer-lasting and better experience gum that comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, pomegranate, and cinnamon. Those sound good. Lucy's mission is to reduce tobacco-related harm to 0. That is, as I've said this before, that is a mega mission. Because tobacco is really harmful and a lot of people smoke. But they're gonna get on that by creating a future where nicotine products can satisfy adult tobacco users without tobacco. Fantastic. Look, we all know smoke is bad for you. If anyone watching this is like, smoking's bad for you? Since when? But Lucy's created a product that allows you to get the buzz you're looking for without tobacco. Go to lucy.co and use the promo code BLAZE to get 20% off your order. That's lucy.co. Or click the link in the description below and use the code BLAZE to get 20% off. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Legally, I had to read that. It's probably why I did my lawyer voice. It's like, do you remember, I don't know if this was just a UK thing, but on the radio when I was a kid, maybe still on the radio now, but you listen to the radio, it's like, terms and conditions apply, blah, 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 blah. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Flight to Oblivion. Here is an example of a controversial tweet which spiraled wildly out of control and highlights just how easy it is to become the target of an angry lynch mob who possibly missed the point. Justine Sarko was the global head of communication. Oh, it's the AIDS woman! Head of communications for the digital media conglomerate IAC. In December 2013, she was traveling from London to Cape Town to spend Christmas holidays with her South African family. As she settled into the 12-hour-long flight, she whipped out her phone and posted a few comical tweets to entertain her modest 170 followers. Wait, isn't she the head of global digital communications? Come on.
You had one job.
Just the one?
For example, in one of them she noted, "Weird German dude, you're in first class. It's 2013. Get some deodorant." Savage. Justine decided to post one last tweet before switching off her phone and settling down to sleep for the rest of the flight. The 12-word tweet was going to whip up one of the biggest shitstorms in the history of the website world. It read, "Going to Africa? Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white." Oh, I forgot. It's like going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS, is already absolutely like, no! And then it's like, just kidding, I'm white. It's like, ah! 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 Now, there's quite a lot to unpack in those 12 words, and a few different ways of looking at them. Whilst digging through this story, I found many mainstream media platforms are still happy to condemn Justine as a terribly ignorant racist scumbag who appears to either be under the delusion that white people can't catch AIDS, or is cheapening the lives of black victims, or flaunting her own white privilege. I was thinking, initially, yeah, she's like not flaunting her white privilege. She was like thinking, that's a problem for non-white people. It's a stretch. But if I was defending her in like the court of public opinion, I'd be like, no, she was pointing out that the division of wealth and access to healthcare in South Africa, particularly, the rest of Africa, I guess as well, is like really racially divided, and that's not good. I was making a positive social point. But Justine had a tendency to post tweets to her small circle of friends which were dripping in dry humour. She had figured that her friends would understand that she was neither racist nor stupid. She was just making an admittedly very clumsy and ill-judged and not remotely funny attempt to mock Western ignorance of the HIV pandemic in her home country of South Africa. One of her friends didn't get the joke.
How dare you!
As Justine slept over the next 12 hours, she was completely oblivious to the fact that she was now trending on Twitter, largely under the hashtag #HasJustineLandedYet? Tens of thousands of angry tweets were posted, including such reactions as, how did Justine Sacco get a PR job? Her level of racist ignorance belongs on Fox News. And I'm an IAC employee, and I don't want Justine Sacco doing any communications on our behalf again. Ever. Justine's boss felt obliged to respond to the outrage. He tweeted, "This is an outrageous offensive comment. Employee in question is currently unreachable on an international flight." Oh, god damn.
Meanwhile, in our universe,
I'm gonna go take a nap. I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap.
I think it's a good idea.
Catch you on the flip side, motherfuckers.
This, of course, led to a weirdly disturbing level of excitement as the Twitter sphere went into meltdown over the thought of Justine eventually waking up in blissful ignorance and disembarking from the plane to face getting fired from her job under the watchful eye of the whole world. At least one member of the mob actually managed to get down to Cape Town International Airport to capture the moment when Justine stepped onto the tarmac. Sharing the photo online, he dutifully reported, "She's decided to wear sunnies as a disguise." Oh my god, this is so insane. Justine did indeed later get fired, thankfully in private, and even her own family weren't very supportive about the whole thing. They had always been staunch activists for racial equality, and Justine's aunt felt that the tweet had tarnished the reputation of the whole family. I bet Christmas dinner that year was well worth the long flight from London. Okay, I mean, it's an absolutely wildly inappropriate joke that should have never got posted, but it's not like she's actually serious. If she was serious, then it'd be like, oh It's perhaps no great surprise now that Justine regrets posting a tweet which left her out of work for a year and briefly led to her becoming one of the most hated people on the planet. She points out that she's not a professional comedian and that she shouldn't have tried to be satirical on a public platform. There's no denying that it was a dumb tweet to post without any context, and it didn't appear to have much in the way of a punchline, but it also seems that Justine's words were dragged out of what she believed to be an inner circle of friends and led to a pile-on frenzy from hordes of internet users who were keen to demonstrate how much they cared about AIDS in Africa by ripping apart the reputation of a sleeping passenger on a plane and punching the air with glee over her imminent dismissal. Yeah, these like outrage heroes though. It's like, oh yeah, look here, hero. What have you actually done?
Nothing. Jon Snow.
Sam Biddle was a blogger for Gorka Media who played Gorka Media is such a piece of shit, allegedly. Who played a key role in prompting the Has Justine Landed Yet hashtag and was happy to pour on scorn over Justine's apparently vile character. Gorka Media, they got destroyed by Peter Thiel, right? It's Gorka Media where they outed Peter Thiel as gay, and Peter Thiel's like a billionaire, and he just destroyed them. He just destroyed them. It's like f***ing legends. Oh, love it. It was something to do, I think they leaked like a sex tape with Hulk Hogan, and then Peter Thiel, is this correct? Did he pay for for Hulk Hogan's crack legal team to sue Gorka Media into the dust And I'm like, Peter, don't f with Peter Thiel is the lesson there.
I'm aware of how destiny is gonna take its course, brother.
A regretful Sam now admits that he was just trying to drum up traffic for his blog and notes that it's easy and thrilling to hate a stranger online. Interestingly, Justine was eventually offered a new position back at her old pals at IAC, so it seems that those 12 years ultimately led to a sentence of only 12 months of misery and unemployment and universal hatred. Sounds bad though, doesn't it? It's a shame she couldn't just have thought up a funny follow-up tweet about the German guy with smelly armpits. Stroking gun. It must be hard getting through life with a name like Anthony Weiner. I once went to a school with a kid called Paul Crapper who endured torment and despair for several years before his parents eventually agreed to let him change his name to Paul White. Really? But Anthony was certainly not the sort of man to hide his wiener, and the Democrat proudly took his name to Congress in 1998 when he was first elected as a representative for New York. Later in 2010, his name rose to prominence when Anthony delivered a stirring speech which supported healthcare for 9/11 first responders. He was seen by many as one of the good guys, even if behind the scenes he apparently had one of the highest staff turnover rates in Congress, thanks largely to his habit of screaming and throwing furniture around when things aren't going his way. Holy shit. You're an adult man. But here's one thing you really don't want to do if your last name is Weiner. You really don't want to get involved in a scandal involving your penis. Sadly, in 2011, and no one wants to get in a scandal involving their penis. Definitely not Weiner. Sadly, in 2011, Anthony broke the unwritten rule when he accidentally tweeted a picture of his erect wiener covered by boxer shorts. Dude. The married man whose wife was expecting their first child had intended to send the photograph privately to a 21 political admirer in Seattle, but his clumsy sausage fingers had pressed the wrong buttons. Dude. After the picture was first thrown around social media, Anthony originally claimed that his account had been hacked, but days later he evidently conceded his mistake and admitted that he had exchanged explicit photographs with 6 different women over the last 3 years. His wife stood by him, but Anthony resigned from Congress in disgrace. Wow. I mean, in that situation, I wouldn't necessarily expect to lose my job, but definitely my wife. You're like, dude. The press naturally had a field day with the headlines, particularly when Anthony made a failed bid to return to the stage in 2013 by running for mayor of New York City. New York Post came up with several memorable gems, including the likes of Weiner exposed, Obama beats Weiner, can't keep Weiner down, Weiner's rise and fall, Weiner's second coming. Weiner, I'll stick it out. Even more scandal was to follow when it transpired in 2016 and 2017 that Weiner had continued. Dude, no! Stop!
No. No, I don't think I will.
Continued to send explicit photographs of his wiener to a string of other women, as well as a 15-year-old girl. His wife didn't stand by him this time around. Weiner was found guilty of transferring obscene material to a minor and sentenced to 21 months in prison. Shit. Oh, my dude. Initially, yeah, that's not good. Incidentally, Weiner's soon-to-be ex-wife was Huma Abedin, who had served as Deputy Chief of Staff during Hillary Clinton's stint as Secretary of State. During the investigation, Weiner's laptop was seized, which led to the discovery of emails pertinent to Hillary Clinton's email scandal, which in turn led to the FBI's reopening of that investigation just days before the 2016 US presidential election. I have to say, I never really understood the Hillary email thing. Wasn't she just sending work emails from like her Hotmail or something like that? Is that, I didn't realize, like, I mean, I guess I can do it because I don't work for the government or some shit. But I'd be like, I don't know. It sounds like one of those things that I get in trouble for that I had no idea was wrong. Or was it illegal or just a breach of protocol? No, the FBI reopened the investigation. It's definitely illegal. I don't understand that at all. Probably, I mean, there's probably more to it, right? Clinton now reckons that this is why she lost the election to Donald Trump, so I imagine she doesn't fancy setting eyes on Weiner for a very long time. Hairdresser on fire! Trying to settle your bill at the restaurant at the end of the night can prove to be a pain in the arse. Holly Jones was certainly having problems in getting the attention of a waitress following a New Year's Eve meal at Kilroy's Bar and Grill in downtown Indianapolis in 2016. Holly had been enjoying a meal with a group of friends, and it seemed that they'd all had a healthy appetite, and the total bill came to over $700. Bloody hell. They probably went overboard with the guacamole. But Holly had picked up on a discrepancy in the bill, and she wanted to iron out this before paying. Despite several attempts to get somebody's attention, Holly began to feel increasingly frustrated that she was being ignored. It appeared that nobody working in the restaurant was remotely interested in dealing with her query. Instead, everybody was fussing over some other woman who had keeled over in the restaurant and now was dying of a heart attack. Holy shit. It's okay, it's like, I mean, yeah, in a restaurant, it's like, oh, come on, please, come over. Come on, I want to just pay and leave. But if someone's having a heart attack over there, like clear medical emergency, I'll be like, it's cool. I'll wait. clearly that takes priority. Later that night, Holly got home and raged on Facebook about how her night had been blemished by this unacceptable level of service. She wrote, "I will never go back to this location for New Year's Eve. We spent over $700 and had our meal ruined by watching a dead person being wheeled out. Oh my god, this is massively insensitive. Tonight we were screamed at by the manager who walked away from us while we were trying to figure out how our bill had been messed up. He also told us that someone dying was more important than us, making us feel like our business didn't matter." What is wrong with you?
Is it crack? Is that what you smoke? Do you smoke crack?
But I guess allowing a junkie in the building to overdose on your property is more important than paying customers who are spending a lot of money. Our waitress also said, "What do you want me to do? Your bill for you." What a great way to talk to a paying customer. I get that working on New Year's Eve is stressful, but being a complete bitch to us all night, knowing you get an automatic gratuity, is not right. Neither's your comment, mate. It's worth making clear that the person who had collapsed to the ground, clutching her chest, was certainly no junkie. She was a 57-year-old woman who thankfully survived a heart attack thanks largely to the quick-witted restaurant staff who dropped everything to come to her aid. So not only were they not wheeling out a dead body, they were literally saving someone's life. That is more important than you fixing some on your bill, Holly. If you're so rich, just pay and leave. And the restaurant manager, Chris Burton, was quick to set the record straight in an acerbic reply to Holly's Facebook post. "Thanks for reaching out." I love that. We love feedback, whether it's positive or negative. I especially like feedback like this, so others can see the disgusting people that we have to deal with sometimes. First of all, the overdosing junkie you speak of was a 57-year-old woman who had a heart attack. Thankfully, she was finally revived at the hospital and survived. It sounds like you were very concerned about her, so I thought you should know. I can completely understand why you think intoxicated assholes that don't understand your bill should take priority over human life. I especially appreciate you making your server who doesn't curse cry as well. I understand how inconvenient this was to your night, but honestly, I'm glad to hear you won't be coming back to Kilroy's because we wouldn't want anyone as cold-hearted and nasty as you returning. Happy New Year. Now, it's very clear that Holly sounds like a bit of a bellend, and it's perhaps not too surprising that she soon found herself the target of public outrage and hostility. But again, it's quite sad that much of the anger was vented in the wrong direction. Holly worked as a stylist at Serenity Salon. Just leave the salon alone. In Indianapolis, and even though the business had nothing to do with the incident, it too found itself the target of abuse. The salon eventually felt obliged to part ways with Holly and issue a statement condemning her post. Another problem was that Holly deleted her social media account shortly after the incident, but this didn't stop social media vigilantes from tracking down other people with the same fairly common name and bombarding them with death threats. Stop it. One elderly namesake in particular, who hailed from Indianapolis, was harassed for weeks, eventually prompting her to try and change her profile pictures to a chunk of text that read, "Not the Holly Jones that went to Kilroy's on NYE." It might have been useful if the real Holly Jones had bothered to apologize or show any remorse for her action. She didn't. Dude. But you'd be like, okay, I was angry in the moment. I'm a bit of a bellend. I was a bit drunk. Be like, I'm really sorry. I'm going to do better in the future by trying to be less of a horrific piece of shit. And people will be like, you're still a bad person. This is still a horrible thing you did, but it's better than if you didn't apologize. Because in this case, you need to apologize. But instead of taking ownership, she made the lame excuse that her Facebook account had been hacked. Yeah, and someone posted that very specific thing, Holly. Big brain. Which is clearly bullshit, as she was acting like a dick in the actual restaurant, and so she's clearly the prime suspect for acting like a dick in the subsequent restaurant critique. The story does have a happy ending though. Not for Holly, obviously, though. She was screwed. But the daughter of the heart attack victim set up a GoFundMe page to assist with the huge medical bills which the family was struggling to pay. And thanks to Holly's role in making the incident go viral, along with a $500 donation from her former employees at the harassed hair salon, the family eventually managed to raise a total of $15,000, which was way beyond their modest expectations. So it just goes to show that social media can be a powerful force for good in the long term, once you get the public shaming and political posturing and death threats and vile abuse of innocent parties out of the way. I should really give it another go. So, everybody, that was an episode of Business Blaze. I do hope you enjoyed. It was sponsored by the fantastic people over at Lucy. Check them out, link below, use the code BLAZE. If you'd like some merch, purchase themerch.co. And thank you for watching.
Give your meat a good old rub.